But we begin tonight with breaking news. Longtime Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan indicted late this afternoon on 22 corruption charges. Our Amanda Vinicky was at the federal building for today's announcement and joins us now. Amanda, it's a day that many political observers thought might never come, but it is here. What's the latest?
Yes, Paris, it is here, and wow, in an incredible fashion. Racketeering, conspiracy, wire fraud, bribery, extortion, 22 counts in total. Returned today by a grand jury, all detailed in a 106-page indictment. It is, as you noted, a stunning fall for a man who for a long time really dominated all of Illinois government and politics. South Side Irishman, turning 80 next month, involved in Springfield since he helped to write the state's current constitution back in 1970. And until about a year ago, when investigations into his inner circle led a group of once loyal House Democrats to really essentially desert him, he had held the title of the nation's longest serving House Speaker. He dominated also as chairman of the Illinois Democratic Party. Now, he is accused of using each of those positions to his personal benefit.
The indictment alleges a long-term, multifaceted scheme to use public positions for unlawful gain, including no-show or low-show jobs for Madigan's political workers and private gain for Madigan himself. The schemes describe involvement of a leader of state government, one of his close confidants, top management of a large public utility, consultants, and others. Unfortunately, this type of criminal conduct drastically undermines the public's confidence in our government. Simply put, it's not a good thing.
As U.S. Attorney John Lausch indicated, it is not just Madigan. The latest indictment also snares Madigan's longtime confidant and political fixer, Mike McLean. Now, McLean had already been fighting criminal charges. He and others high up with utility giant ComEd allegedly gave jobs to people close with Madigan as the House was passing a controversial law boosting ComEd and its parent company Exelon's profits. In federal filings related to that scheme, Madigan was known as Public Official A. Now, today, for the first time, he is directly tied and named to alleged illegal activity as part of that scheme, but also to other schemes. Madigan has also long worked as a property tax attorney and is accused of using his powerful political positions to steer business to his law firm. The feds are seeking Madigan to forfeit $2.8 million in what they describe as ill-gotten gains. Now, as the indictment describes, it is a full-on enterprise of which Madigan is the leader. The purposes of the Madigan enterprise included, but were not limited to exercise, to preserve, and to enhance Madigan's political power and financial well-being, to financially reward Madigan's political allies, political workers, and associates for their loyalty, association with, and work for Madigan, and to generate income from members and associates of the enterprise through illegal activities. The indictment alleges the criminal activity goes back a decade.
This has been some time coming, where we have continued to look at the evidence, follow the evidence where it leads, and then ultimately bring charges when we think we can prove those charges beyond a reasonable doubt.
But Madigan is not going to make that easy. Thus far, his confidants have pled not guilty. And even as he was named Public Official A, Madigan for years has vehemently denied any wrongdoing. And he still is. In a statement, his attorneys called the charges baseless, saying Mr. Madigan vehemently rejects the notion that he was involved in criminal activity before, during, or after his long career as a public servant. The government's overreach in charging him with these alleged crimes is groundless, and we intend to prevail in court. They add that they will prove that he did nothing wrong. Also, media are reporting a statement from Madigan saying that the feds are trying to criminalize what is regular behavior for a public official, and that he is proud of his career. Now, under Madigan's leadership, Democrats did come to amass a lot of power in Springfield. They control really all of it right now, and Democrats however, who led the charge to oust Madigan from his position as Speaker, are now claiming vindication. Other Democrats a bit more temperate in their response. For example, you have Senate President Don Harmon issuing a statement saying, "These are obviously disturbing allegations. I have confidence in our system of justice. Like everyone else, I will be watching to see how this unfolds." Republicans, though, tying Madigan's alleged misdeeds to the Democratic Party.
Today may be the darkest day in Illinois government history. This is not just an indictment against Michael Madigan, but it's an indictment against the Democrat Party of Illinois that he ran for decades. Today, you will hear from many House Democrats who spent years benefiting from Mike Madigan's power and spoke out only when it was politically advantageous. Be wary of them.
Other figures in government are peppered throughout the indictment, the governor among them, and WTTW News did just learn that Governor J.B. Pritzker was interviewed by the feds as part of this investigation, but Lausch was clear today to say that neither the governor nor any of his staff have anything alleged against them as part of this indictment, nor are, again, many of the other individuals with whom Madigan met. Prior to this afternoon's news conference by the U.S. Attorney's Office, Pritzker said that he did have to work with Madigan by virtue of their roles in government. And Pritzker said that anyone who is guilty of corruption should be held responsible to the highest extent of the law. As U.S. Attorney, Lausch has been involved with other high-profile corruption schemes, including one ongoing now to which Chicago longtime Alderman Ed Burke has pleaded not guilty. Now, Lausch was asked, what is it like to snare Madigan? A reporter calling Madigan the big fish. Is this the end of the Chicago way? Prosecutors are generally pretty formal, and Lausch did not directly answer that question, saying that he wanted to stay within the confines of the indictment, but he did say this.
The problem continues to be a very stubborn one. I mean, you look at what's alleged here. We have conduct that's here that's alleged up until 2019. There is, and it's a decade-long, essentially a little less than a decade-long scheme that's described here. So it lasted for a long time, and it lasted up into 2019.
While he didn't appear to have anything specific in mind, Lausch did say that this investigation is ongoing, and he asks anybody with knowledge of wrongdoing to come forward with tips. Paris, back to you.
Amanda, a lot to dissect here, and we're going to do that in just a minute, because up next, more analysis on the federal charges brought against Michael Madigan with Amanda and the rest of our Spotlight Politics team. So please stay with us.